Bethesda's at something of a disadvantage because there's no way whatever conference they have right now could ever top what they did last year. But that's because last year's press conference was the first one they ever did, so of course anything they did would have been super cool and super exciting. So with that, this year's conference was good. It was still good. It was certainly not as exciting or mind-blowing as it was last year, but this year's was still really, really good. And they started off really, really strongly by, before even saying anything, they showed a new game. Awesome! That's exactly what they want to see. We want to see. Like, we want to see something new, to know that you've got new stuff coming along. And they showed off a completely CG trailer for Quake Champions. All new Quake game. Sounds like it's going to go back to the pure multiplayer style stuff like Quake 3 Arena. But the way they talked about it is that you have different characters that you can select that all have different attributes or abilities or whatever. So it sounds like it's going to have something of a League of Legends or Overwatch influence, I guess, where these play slightly different rather than just being about whatever weapons you pick up. But it's a new Quake game, and that's really, really cool. Especially coming off the heels of them just releasing a new Doom game. It makes sense for them to go to Quake. And Doom was freaking awesome. I goddamn loved the Doom remake. So if they can give that kind of treatment to the new Quake, it'll be awesome. Plus, they also talked about how Quake is going to play at 120 hertz refresh rate and have unlocked frames per second, which is great. But that also makes it sound like it's going to be only on PC, which is either good or bad. I think that's on the good side. That way they can really focus on the esports competitive scene and not have to worry about balancing it out for all the other consoles or whatever. Just make it just on PC. I think that's a smarter choice. And again, I am purely speculating off of that just because of the spec stuff that they kind of spouted out. But I'm predicting it's going to be only on PC. But that's fine. Again, Doom was great. If they do that kind of love for a new multiplayer-based Quake game, that one will also be great. So, a really strong way to start off. And then it went a little bit to them kind of stroking their own dicks for a little bit. They're all like, look at all the Game of the Year awards we got last year. Look how cool we are. Isn't that great? Yeah. Then they talked about Elder Scrolls Legends, which they announced last year, and they finally showed a little bit of gameplay for it. They also had a gameplay trailer preview for it right before the conference, but this was the first thing they actually showed within the context of their own conference stuff. And it's Hearthstone. It's very much Hearthstone. The only difference is that it's split in the lanes, so you can have your monsters on different sides, and as your hero takes damage, after every 5 points of damage, you get to basically get a bonus card to help turn the match around. But otherwise, it's Hearthstone. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because they can still do something really cool. But more importantly, they had single player in it, which is great, because I love single player kind of stuff with card games. Instead of it just being multiplayer focused, having a single player mode would be really, really cool, because that also gives them opportunities for DLC packs or expansions or whatever to continue on the story to make people want to come back and play it instead of just doing multiplayer versus mode. If they have a co-op mode, I would be sold, because I do love me some co-op modes. Either way, it looks alright. They do say they have the mobile versions coming for iOS systems, Android, all the different tablets. So it's coming whenever it's out. After that, they immediately went to stroking Fallout 4's dick, and they're like, look at all the Game of the Years that Fallout 4 got. Man, you guys sure liked Fallout 4 last year, didn't you? Man, isn't Fallout 4 amazing? I mean, not for me. I was extremely underwhelmed by Fallout 4, so I wasn't too stoked about everything they just showed, because I moved on from that game pretty quickly. That being said, the stuff they showed is the stuff I did like Fallout 4 about, and that was building stuff. So they basically got some updates and new DLCs and things coming that greatly expand the construction stuff of Fallout 4 for bases. Whether it be now you can have freaking conveyor belts and different levers that like slide open switches and stuff to sort whatever Okay, but more importantly, they also showed how you can actually build your own vault. That's really cool. Having your own vault to build, even it kind of showed it from the side, Fallout Shelter style, with all your different dwellers inside of there. And it said you can, quote unquote, experiment on your dwellers. If that's an actual thing, you actually do experiments, and it has gameplay benefits to that, that would be really, really cool. But yeah, just getting your own vault, just have a different environment to build your own structure in instead of it being just overground settlement. And hopefully Preston doesn't come by and tell you that it's under attack all the frickin' time. They also say you can build a new theme park kind of thing. They showed like Nuka-Cola World or Land or whatever it was. And they said you can build your own one of that as well. I don't know if these are all going to be separate things or if they're all together. I believe they're separate, but basically they're updating Fallout 4 to have a lot more building stuff, which is cool because when the game first launched, the building was awesome. I really enjoyed all of that stuff, even if it didn't have that much of a benefit to you in the game. In the long run, it ended up being more of a hassle than anything else. Then they talked about Fallout Shelter, and Fallout Shelter is getting an update. Stroke that dick a little bit first. They got the new quests update coming out in mid-July, and how it's also going to be playable on PC and not just on mobile platforms, which is fine. I didn't play Fallout Shelter at all, so I know a lot of people really liked it, mostly because when it came out, I didn't have a phone that could play it, so a PC version coming is cool. I'm sure there'll be like streams and Let's Play videos of that all coming if they aren't already. Next up, they went to what was heavily rumored and then confirmed true is that they are doing a remaster of Skyrim for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, where the graphics are all better. Alright, kind of expected that. But the console versions can also then use mods, much like they did with Fallout 4. And that's a way cooler experience. I mean, Skyrim getting better graphics at first was redundant to me because I play on PC, and a lot of mods already do that, if not better than Bethesda. But having it available on consoles to do like the friendly dragons, or I don't think they're gonna allow like Thomas the Tank Engine or anything, or the more famous ones. But having those mods available for console players is cool too. So, not super excited by that particular announcement, just because having played it on PC already was mostly redundant. But if you don't have that and you wanted a more up-to-date Skyrim that doesn't look as bad but has mods on it, there you go. Again, I wasn't super impressed by Skyrim. It was alright, wasn't impressed by it. Now, this next thing they showed was technically a new game, but it was very, very weird to see. So, they showed off a new psychological thriller first-person game where a dude in a kind of futuristic setting wakes up and a robot is telling him about, oh, you have a meeting today at 9 a.m. until whenever. He checks his mirror and he looks into his eye and it looks a little bloodshot. And he immediately wakes back up in the exact same bed. And the robot starts telling him about his schedule today, and he gets up, does the exact same routine, goes to the mirror and checks his eye, and it's more bloodshot. He does that a couple of times until finally he wakes up and everything's gone to shit, and everything looks terrible. He's like in some kind of lab, science building or something. Everything's dark and spooky. He clearly had like a hammer melee weapon. He was using shotguns. It wasn't actual gameplay. This was all CG. It was like a bunch of spooky shadow monsters all coming around. And then, like, towards the end, he goes into an office area, and then he sees himself walk out, address him the exact same way the trailer started, and then he himself, like, sits down and says to himself, "You won't like what I have to tell you." And then they reveal the name of the game. And it's Prey. This is bizarre for a lot of reasons. One, it's nothing like the original Prey. Prey took like, what, 7 years to come out? From like 1997 or 8 or whatever it was until it finally came out in 2006. I guess 99 to 2006. It was an Xbox 360 game and PC. And it wasn't amazing. It had anus doors. I remember that part. The abduction sequence at the beginning was kind of cool, and then it just kind of falls apart after that. So this is, use the same title, which makes you think it's the same IP or same property, but it looks like it has nothing to do with that. Like nothing at all, which was so weird to see. But what's more, I guess, upsetting about this is that they had a Prey 2 at E3, just a few years ago, and it looked awesome. It was basically only behind closed doors, but it was a futuristic futuristic city where you were basically played a bounty hunter, and you were given different targets or your prey, and you just have to go out and find them within this city. And you had like all different abilities and gadgets and things you can use, and it looked really freaking cool. Imagine Blade Runner, but you were a bounty hunter within that, just trying to find your prey, your targets, and that's what they showed Prey 2, and it looked so goddamn cool. Basically, anyone who saw that presentation that I talked to that year, everyone was like, "Oh my god, Prey 2 looks awesome." Everyone was on board for Prey 2, and then it was canceled, and no one could figure out why, because the game seemed so promising. And now we have a new Prey that has nothing to do with Prey 2, has nothing to do with the original Prey, but still uses the same Prey title and IP. I don't know. I want that old game back because it looked awesome. But I'm still intrigued enough by the new one to want to see more, because psychological thrillers is the only kind of horror game that I really enjoy. So I do want to see more of that. But man, I hope they did not completely forget about the original concept for Prey 2, because they were pretty far along too, and my god, it looked good. I hope so, at least. Anyway, after that, they started talking about Doom some more, and started stroking Doom's dick a little bit. And Doom was really, really good. Like I said earlier, I played through all of Doom. Goddamn loved it. Everything I could have hoped Doom to be. They basically said they have updates coming forward, new snap map features, some new multiplayer stuff was coming, some free updates, some premium DLC pack updates you can also buy for additional maps and game modes or extra aliens or whatever. And we know those are coming. They had the Doom Season Pass early on, so we knew there's more multiplayer stuff coming. But man, the way the Doom 1, the Doom storyline ends, they gotta do something with the story. I want to see a Doom expansion pack that continues the story, or whether it's DLC or actually released in stores or whatever. I don't know if they'll just do an all-out Doom 2 or anything, but because they had a lot of story bits throughout the story campaign that set itself up for a more Doom story. The obvious is the entire ending cliffhanger with, no spoilers, but the stuff with the key, if you played it. And there's also a part where Doom guy, does a thing with Vega and puts him on a chip and takes him. It's like those are just little tidbits they set up to kind of have story hooks for more Doom story. And I want more Doom story. Whether it's an expansion, I'd rather have that. I don't know if there's enough for a full-on Doom 2. I mostly want an expansion because I would get that sooner than a Doom 2, but I want to see more the actual campaign than the multiplayer. I haven't really done the multiplayer a whole lot, so I can't really speak on that a whole lot. That being said, I love Doom, and you should totally play it. And Bethesda knows this by making Doom free for people to play. They're kind of bringing back the original Doom's idea of shareware, where anyone on PC, Xbox One, or PS4 can go and download basically the entire first level of the new Doom and play it for free. Highly recommend it, because I freaking love that game. I had so much fun for it. You can do it throughout all this week of E3. Make sure you do it. It's totally worth it. You won't be disappointed. I had so much fun with it. Definitely do that. All right, after all that, they started talking about Elder Scrolls Online, and what they did, they struck the dick a little bit, and everyone's like, Elder Scrolls Online is so millions of players, and we were MMO Game of the Year. I would love to know who said that, because it sure wasn't me. I wasn't super impressed by Elder Scrolls Online when it finally came out. Not super impressed. I know they improved and changed a lot of things. That's fair. I have not gone back and checked it out, but it wasn't enough there to make me super impressed. Basically, all they really said was Dark Brotherhood is coming out on consoles soon. It's been out on PC for a while. But the big announcement they had was, quote-unquote, the One Tamriel update, where it removes all of the level restrictions on every quest and zone and dungeon throughout all of Elder Scrolls Online. Now, the concept for this is to make it closer to an actual Elder Scrolls game, where as soon as you wake up, you can go to any location and any place that you want to, and you'll be able to play and progress. But that really concerns me from an MMO aspect, just because of the multiplayer thing. You're either going to end up going to areas that has no one, or people are going to find out whatever area is the quickest to level up in and exploit the hell out of it, and that's where you'll see everyone just hanging out in. That's my fear. I don't know if it's going to work out. It's an interesting experiment. I'm more on the pessimistic side. I feel like most players are going to try to find a way to not exploit it, but min-max it, for lack of a better term. I really don't think it's going to be as a big sprawling adventure where you can go around and look at whatever you want, search whatever you want, because Elder Scrolls Online, as an online MMO, doesn't really lend itself towards that, as to say just a standard single-player Elder Scrolls game. Maybe I'm totally wrong, I don't know, but it's the most unique thing that Elder Scrolls Online would have compared to any other MMO, and I think that's something they could really use. They also talked about how they got some VR stuff coming. Not their own platform or anything, but they are developing games for VR. For example, they had a demo of Doom, the new Doom in VR, which I really want to do because that'd be freaking awesome, because the environments in Doom were just awe-inspiring. Especially if you're in hell at all, they had some super cool environments to see in there. Big announcement that they had with that, though, is that they are making Fallout 4 entirely VR compatible in 2017. Whether it'll be compatible on the HTC Vive first, and then it's also going to be compatible on the Oculus Rift eventually. Like I said earlier, Fallout 4 underwhelmed me. Not too excited about the game on its own, but as someone who just recently finally got to use the HTC Vive, that is going to be really freaking cool. The Vive is awesome, you guys. I am thoroughly impressed by that. I am intrigued in how they are going to do that within the game, whether it's because Vive has like two settings, basically where you stand in one place and play, or where you move around the room that you have set up and play. I don't know how they're going to do that with Fallout 4, just because of the way the game plays, but putting yourself in this dystopia and being able to look around in the environments and see rad roaches or whatever, I do think that's going to be really, really cool. And the controllers work super well on the HTC Vive. So if you can just bring up your hand at any point in time and look at your Pip-Boy and maybe press some buttons on it, man, that would be cool. So I'm all aboard the HTC Vive train. Not super psyched about Fallout 4, but I would totally play a VR version of it. Now, from here, they basically ended the conference by talking a lot about Dishonored 2. And by a lot, I mean like a solid 20 minutes was all Dishonored 2. Like, a good third of their press conference was just this. And man, this dragged on so much. This is kind of a low point. Now, we knew Dishonored 2 existed because they accidentally leaked it before the conference last year, and then they said that the game's coming last year. So here, they were all like, gameplay, it's coming at you. Except not, here's the first gameplay thing, except not really, it's just, look at all the environments. Is this neat? Alright, well that sizzle reel ended. Alright, that was kind of cool, right? Alright, well here's some gameplay, and it basically shows like the opening sequence, and then wasn't actually gameplay. So we're like, oh, alright. And then they're like, okay, now actual gameplay. And it was, they finally showed some actual gameplay. And it still looks cool. I enjoyed Dishonored 1 quite a bit, and Dishonored 2 still looks really, really cool. They showed off all the playable character of Corvo's daughter, where she has her own abilities aside from Corvo. He has fundamentally the same abilities from the first game, but they were quote-unquote super-powered, so they'll be bigger and better. So she was able to basically use a scorpion spear like whip thing where she can like pull guys into them or latch onto buildings and pull herself up. They also showed her going into like a shadow form and walking towards a dude and ripping his leg off. So they showed mostly, for the most part, a lot of her powers. It took a long time to finally get to the point to actually see the gameplay that it was really dragging on. I felt like they kind of ran out of stuff to put in that hour of their presentation, and they just kind of threw in whatever Dishonored 2 stuff that they could just to kind of fill out that timeline. They were banking really hard on Dishonored 2 doing well. They also showed another level, which actually did look really cool. It was a time travel level where you go into a mansion where your powers inexplicably don't work anymore, but you have this device that allows you to see the mansion in present day where it's completely destroyed and decrepit. And then the device allows you to travel into the past where the mansion was alive, and all the guards or stuff are in there. This kind of stuff has been done before in terms of like time traveling within like this one area and seeing the differences. But the presentation was really cool because they had this device that had glass shards sticking out. So even though if you're in the present looking around at all this gross, decrepit, broken stuff, within the glass shards you can kind of see it where it was in the past, and kind of turn your characters so you can kind of like magnifying lens through the past, and then you can jump through it, and now you're into the past, and then you can see the decrepit future. I'd imagine you have to use that to get around certain guards or over platforms or areas or whatever, but not the most unique idea that's been done before, but the presentation of it was pretty cool. And then they did one more gameplay trailer where it was all like pre-rendered, all CG stuff, just be like, more Dishonored 2. And then at the end, they said, everyone here gets shirts. Okay, bye! And that's how it ended. So, overall, again, it was good. It was solid. Nothing was a super bomb announcement. Like, last year they had Fallout 4 under wraps until their press conference. We all knew it was going to come. We were hoping for it. And then when they finally announced it, everyone's all like, oh my god! And then the game ended up being a shooter instead of an RPG. For me, the coolest new announcement they had here was Quake Champions, just because a new Quake game is cool. If they go back to the multiplayer stuff, that will be cool. I wish they had actual gameplay stuff of it, but, you know, what do you do? I hope this doesn't become a trend for Bethesda, where they have to rely on stuff that's already released and talking about that, because it's hard for a single publisher / developer to constantly have this presentation every year. And that's what they did. They talked about a lot of stuff that's already out, or stuff we already knew about. So, Elder Scrolls, Legends, Online, Skyrim, triple dipping there. Dishonored 2 came back. Doom was just recently released, and they're talking about the multiplayer stuff. But then that was also kind of a good idea because, like I said during the EA press conference about Mirror's Edge, they're reminding people that Doom is out, and they're letting people try it for free this week, which is really, really smart. Prey was new. I want the old Prey back, even if it's under a different title, but I am still excited to play this new Prey. But I'm also glad that's new. So, solid presentation all around. Rested on their laurels a little bit, but they kind of have to. I like that they are reinforcing things that were recently released or popular released, and just letting people know that, you know, there's still new stuff coming for it. The Fallout 4 building, the Doom multiplayer, the free map, snap map stuff, etc. It dragged on at the end just because it was too much Dishonored 2. Like, Dishonored 2 is cool, but you didn't need to dedicate that much to Dishonored. I think you had better or cooler properties that more people would be interested in besides that. And you just get to the gameplay quicker, because you built it up way too long to the point where I was losing interest in actually seeing the game. Like, I was tabbing out and looking at other websites while all this was happening. But still, overall, a solid presentation. Bethesda would get a B. Just a solid B. Because they did well. It wasn't amazing, or nothing was super jaw-dropping or mind-blowing, but they did really, really well. So I am concerned if they're going to be able to keep this up every year, just because that's going to be hard to keep up with when they're only a single developer / publisher and they don't have that many studios under their belt. Maybe I'm wrong and they're constantly working on something new and they'll blow me away next year. But either way, still a solid showing from Bethesda this year. Much better than EA.